We'll give people time to pop in here and I can get the chats laid out properly. Our audio should be pretty good. Put this to the side. Stream's coming through. Audio, double check. Okay, yeah, microphone audio is good. That rough first show energy. This over here. All right, let's get X's chat up. Let's see how this works. For anybody who's already tuned in, I'm finalizing my setup here. Try to get the X chat and YouTube chat up side by side so I can see everybody. For some reason, X is wanting me to sign in again. That's lovely. Never happens. Phone. What do you mean? Apologies. All right, let's try it again. There we go. We're back on X. Lovely. All right, let's get in here and see if we can get our eyes on the chat. Made it to where everybody should be able to chat. Made it to where everybody should be. Cut that volume. Where the heck is the chat? All right, anyways, let's bring up YouTube real fast. Make sure everything's looking good on that front as well. I'm running Streamlabs to both platforms, so apologies, guys, if there's any little hiccup here. Gives people time to come in. All right, cool. There it is, right on my channel. Listed right up front. Kill the volume on that. And at least here we can see a chat. What is up? Yes, the first Florida report. What's going on, guys? Morning from Australia. It's awesome to have you here, Paul. What time is it out there in Australia? Goodness. Hopefully it's not too early for you. At least I can see our chat here on YouTube, so that is good. That is what I wanted. Let's pull X aside from it. Bear with me, guys. Just trying to get all this situated so I can interact with the audience, because that's part of the magic here. And if you haven't done it before, go to TeslaFSDTracker.com/cyberlift, and you can actually interact with this dashboard that you're seeing here. Good evening from St. Augustine. Hey, not too far off. It's on the East Coast. Hope you're having fun out there. I see you. I know who you are. Oh, there we go. We got the chat. What is up? Yes, I am utilizing both monitors. We're making this happen. We got Jittery Hobo from Maine. What's going on? And we got my boy Toby in the chat on X. Awesome. I'm glad that I can see this stuff separately. I'm going to pop out the X chat so I can have that dedicated. Because what we're going to do is I'm going to go over this dashboard you're seeing and the information that's on it, kind of give you an overview of what's going on, and then I would love to take questions from the audience. And I'm hoping I mentioned a few people on X that hopefully will come over that are on the more skeptical side with all this data collection, so we can actually talk about it and build some confidence in the community around this data collection, because to some people it's just viewed as a bunch of fanboys trying to make FSD look good. But if you've been following Elias or I for a while, between the community tracker and this Cyberlift dashboard, it wouldn't take more than about 30 seconds to realize that we are not trying to make this look good. We're just trying to show you the actual data and what's going on. Please let me know in the chat if the audio is off, if I'm too loud or not. Elias is currently busy in the background, but if questions come up where we need to bounce off of him, he's definitely more the expert on the data side. I'm more like a field scientist. So he's both. He's the field scientist and the data scientist. I'm the field scientist that goes out, tests the hell out of the system, records as accurately as possible, and then it pops up on this beautiful dashboard for us to actually compare all the software patches. And if you can see it on here, hopefully it is pretty visible for you guys, and we can click into the actual segments. Like, we'll go into the RoboTaxi results here, and I am looking at the YouTube chat or stream as well. I don't know how delayed it might be, but if you look at the bottom, we're going all the way back to 10.8.1, version 10 days. And each of these bars is a build going forward up till now with 12.5.4.1 and all the dots in between. I'm going to keep an eye up on chat. And Elias is in the chat too on YouTube, which is awesome. So, hey, hit him with the questions. We're going to make him work tonight. I think now we've got some traction and everything is looking good here. I'm going to go ahead and go through a baseline presentation of what this is, kind of like the traditional report videos. And then we'll get into questions afterward. And I don't know how long we'll run. This is the first time trying this in a live stream format, but I think this could be a really fun way to have audience interaction and break down this data more organically rather than just seeing it in like a 15-20 minute video. So I'm going to back up to the main dashboard's front page, what you normally see. And again, so real quick, I'll put it in the chat real fast for everybody. Actually, give me 2 seconds here to make this happen. Hang on. Let's do this. I'm going to send y'all the link right to this stuff. That way everybody can like poke around and look along with me. Like, you don't have to just look at what I'm doing on my screen. You can actually go to that link and you can click on everything I'm clicking on. This is an open dashboard that everybody can look at, but different parts of it might seem a little confusing. So that's why we do our presentations. But on the front page here, you're looking at just an overall general view, and I have greater than 500 kilometers on the version selected just to cut out some of the noise. If we take this off, you'll notice up here on the RoboTaxi results that there's some break in the data where, you know, while I was working with Arkimoto, I didn't get as much time on the road. So there are a couple little point releases like 11.4.7.2 and 4.7.3 that I didn't really get any time on. I think I got, 2 customer trips on 7.2 and 1 on 11.4.7.3. Well, this dot language. The 2 trips on 7.2 were perfectly, or went well. They were successes. So it's like the 100% marker you'll see on the RoboTaxi dashboard. But it's only 2 trips, guys. So that is one of the reasons we came up with this sort of filter. Anything that I did more than 500 kilometers of travel on, or about 300 miles. I'm also, to make this fair to everybody, I'm going to try to remember to speak in both freedom units as well as metric, since it's all displayed in metric. Well, let me see here, just to check myself. Yeah, it's just over 300 miles on each build is what this does. That way we can look at it. And let's check out RoboTaxi report while we're on this. Again, I'm going to run through this and give a baseline presentation, then we're going to go into questions, and I appreciate everybody who's hopping in. Now, the RoboTaxi results, I guess I'll start by mentioning I get some pushback on calling this RoboTaxi, but I'm going to make this as simple and blunt as possible for everybody to understand. The robot, aka the car on FSD, is doing the taxi trip. The fact that I'm in the seat or there as a just-in-case measure or a safety measure, it's semantics. It's rather irrelevant. It's kind of a weak position to take that because I'm in the seat, it doesn't count as it doing a taxi trip. It is. Now, what you can see on the screen is whether or not it does it successfully or not. And it's been interesting to watch the trend. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you guys that the latest 12.5.4.1 that I have, now Elias and some of these other Cybertruck owners, they're a step beyond me with 12.5.5. So we'll see how that goes, but reports coming in earlier that the highway stuff is still a little shaky and there's still some problems. but we're not bouncing back up to the early version 12 success days. On 12.3, the best being 12.3.3, we were at 88, 90% success, and it's as simple as can be. From pickup to drop off, I didn't have to intervene. If I do, it's a fail. It's clean and cut. So if I had to disengage for whatever reason, it was going to miss a turn, it was putting us in a really uncomfortable situation, which we'll get into the causation stuff later as we look at the donut to show different reasons for disengaging. Or if it gets stuck and I had to give it throttle, I had to do something so the customer wouldn't be sitting there, it's a fail. That's why it was so impressive that early version 12 was getting up back into the 90 percentile, because before that, it was the kind of freaky unicorn build here on 11.4.2 at 93% that kind of teased us, and then everything went to hell after that. But here on 12.5.4.1 with 31 trips in, and we're at about 65%. Now, some of the things that are causing that are really simple issues, mostly having to do with making a left into oncoming traffic, kind of like intersections with stoplights, where it's turning yellow and you have to turn. There's also just roads where you're making that left and oncoming traffic is not impeded by stop signs or lights, and the car just kind of freaks out, like right in the middle of the path planning, and wants to veer off. And I do have some footage of that, so maybe after this and while we're going through questions and stuff, we can look at a couple of examples. But between that and the forced red wheel disengagements that happen either from the rain or from high beams, as well as blatantly not wanting to stop at a stop sign, which I've only had one instance of that today, getting off of a highway where I had to take over because there was no indication that my car was going to slow down and stop. These are things that obviously lead to failures, and with improvements in future dot releases, I am fully confident that that little yellow bar is going to tick back up towards 100%, but for now, on 12.5.4.1, we are struggling. Moving forward real quick, again, we're going to get to the questions after I'm done with this quick little look at everything. On our disengagements tabs, we're looking at all the disengagements across the builds, and in blue, it's how far we're getting before a non-critical or non-safety, legal, or critical system fault-related disengagement, which it's important to separate those and understand the difference, because a lot of times people get hung up on what is critical. I keep it pretty simple, and again, in causation, we'll break that down, but it's, avoiding damage or harm to persons or property, or breaking the law. That's kind of as clean and black and white as you can get with what a critical disengagement is versus a non-critical. And so in blue here, a lot of these builds getting pretty far, 130 kilometers between non-critical disengagements on 12.3.6, which I had for a very long time, and I think a lot of you might still be on. Hopefully most of you have moved on to the 12.5 branch by now. 130 kilometers, if we break that back, that's about 80 or so miles. Let me just do a little check here. Yeah, well, right on the money, about 80 miles. Heck yeah. So that's cool. I'm sort of by unit. I can speak in both. And the yellow line, of course, here is showing the critical disengagements. And I've already joked with Elias that I've had more critical disengagements on this build than I think with any other build. And a lot of that's the red forced wheel disengagements that are happening with high beams. I don't know if you guys have noticed this too in Hardware 3 cars that are on the 12.5 build at night or early in the morning, low light conditions, when an oncoming car has their high beams on, it's forcing me to take over. Big red wheel, loud alarms. And yesterday morning, that happened 3 times before sunrise, and then the night before that, 3 times on the way home. That's not good. So hopefully a future update can fix that. In our causation donut, and of course, anybody who's following along, again, first time running through this is a live stream, so apologies if it's a little messy. We'll get better with it. This is just me kind of saying, let's go, let's just send it. If you're following along on this, again, TeslaFSDTracker.com/cyberlift, sorry. You can click on all of this and you can filter out by versions and look at how the disengagements change. And you can compare different builds and look at them overall. With nothing selected, you're looking at everything cumulatively. If we look at just 12.5.4, it breaks down at the bottom here, human caused, legal, safety, which is basically a generic catch-all for anything that's just unsafe. Skill issue, which just does something poorly that it can do, it just doesn't execute it well enough. Staging, which is not preparing for the next maneuver. Say you need to take an exit or get into the left lane to make a left lane change, and for some reason it decides to get into the right lane, and now you're going to miss that turn. It's a staging problem. System error is that red wheel disengagement that happens from losing traction, low setting or rising sun, where you just get that photon overload, other random things that we don't really understand that are causing it. And now we know high beams for at least hardware 3 cars. I haven't seen any problems reported from Cybertruck or hardware 4 cars yet. Hopefully this isn't an issue that lasts too long, but 9 critical system errors in the couple of days that I've been testing this. 8 of them skill issue, which is sort of a generic didn't do it very well kind of thing, like making those shooting the gap instances where it took too long and I had to take over because we were going to end up sitting there in front of other cars, or it missed its golden zone to take off and I had to give it throttle because I do count. So with throttle interventions, if it's a courtesy, if it's just to move along and not annoy people, that does not, to me, count as a failure condition. It's when it's sitting there and thinks a light's red or won't move at a green light or won't move at an intersection and you have to intervene. That, to me, is a disengagement worthy or disengagement level intervention. I hope that makes sense. Let's see what we got. Orange is legal. One of those was stop sign. Actually, I think... Oh, no. The other legal one, I just remembered, was turning into oncoming traffic. Yeah, that wasn't good. And I do have that on video too, so maybe we can take a peek at that instance as well. There was nobody on the road in like coming toward us, or at least they were probably 500-600 meters away, or around 400 or 500 yards away. So it wasn't a safety concern, but it was definitely one of those, oh no, that's not cool, and had to get back into the right track. And safety related, I can't remember off the top of my head when I hit these, but generally this is going to be where it was just acting unsafe, probably going way too fast and getting on the brakes way too hard, or I had to intervene because it didn't feel like it was going to. But these are separated by category in this way. And then on our map, this is kind of the fun thing that we started working on in California. So if we zoom out and go back over here to California, I mean, there's not going to be anything on 12.5, but if we go into, whoa, oh, I can just click on it. Yeah, that's right. He made it easy for me. You can see over here now with 12.3.6 and how it performed in San Diego. Purple is actually really good. They were likely one-offs, like right here with Galavan was just one trip and it did it well. Costa Mesa, Dana Point, these are examples of the purple 100% success. But it's more impressive when you see, like here, 12 trips in Claremont Mesa on 12.3.6, 100% success rate. That is really good. That is an area where you could imagine like a future RoboTaxi program beta starting and like geofencing into that spot because they know it's really good while they train other regions to get up to that category. But zipping back over to Florida here, and I did do a lot of driving on 12.3.6 before we got 12.5.1. And most of these regions, well, there's 2 trips there, 1 trip there. These 100% realms are mostly one-offs. 2 trips there, 2 trips there through Sanford, St. Petersburg. Winter Haven, 26 trips, 54% success. But getting back to our current build on 12.5.4.1, you can see the current breakdown. Got some time in Tampa today. And I plan to hit a lot more of these areas to really color this map in a bit and show what's going on. Eventually, I'd like to make my way down to Lauderdale, Miami, kind of travel all over the place. But the way we've broken it down is that at 100%, it's its own dedicated sort of purple color. Those are areas where there's been no failed trips. Right now, Claremont City and Tampa has 2 successes. I don't think... Oh, okay. And then the Tampa Airport routes to and from there had 2 successes today that were really good. And then we don't have any teal or green yet. That's the 90 to 99% success realm. And then it's 70, 89, 0 to 69. Basically, red and orange, not great. Green and purple, or bluish and purple, really good. So hopefully we'll see more purples and even some blues as I continue to drive around and flesh this out. Now, granted, what you're looking at with this Cyberlift dashboard here, this is a sample size of 1. It's just me. However, it's just me having gone over 100,000 kilometers on FSD. So there's been some argument that, data from one YouTuber doesn't matter. That's just flat out false. This is repeatable testing and scenarios, and not necessarily that the routes are repeatable, but the standards are across the board. and there's a level of integrity that I hold myself to, and Elias and I, and he checks me, we check each other, we verify things as best we can. We're not in this to make things look good or bad. We're here to show what is happening in the real world and present it to everybody in a way that is, hopefully pretty easy to understand. I know there's a lot of information on the screen and what's going on, but him and I alone do enough driving to run case studies on probably 100 drivers. So it's irresponsible, in my opinion, to cast aside or dismiss the data outright unless you have a certain narrative or bias you're going for, that you don't want to hear anything about FSD doing well. And in some cases, folks that are really hyperbolic in the other direction don't want to hear anything about it not doing well. We've gotten heat from both sides, and I think plenty of people have said if you're pissing off both sides, you're probably doing something right. But that aside, I'm going to take a look at the chat for a bit here and look at some questions. I see Elias is in the chat, which is awesome and helpful. And let's see over on X. Is it good from Azure? It feels really good as far as 12.541. The finesse, the smoothness is there. It is making some really unfortunate errors at the wrong time that lead to some of these RoboTaxi failures. And thank you, Tesla Bull, for the granular data comment. Is there a correlation between the number of vehicles and the FSD interventions? So that is definitely a question more for Elias to answer. Because, again, what you're looking at here is just my vehicle. This is just me. This is everything that I've collected and done for my RoboTaxi report. Now, I love the idea of going into the big FSD community tracker, and my data is incorporated in there. He has it to where this is offloaded into the big tracker to count as data collected, which is good. But the community tracker is definitely Elias's baby, and it is intense. And man, the data insights he puts out on X are incredible. And hopefully he can get back to you with that question, Tesla Bull, on X about the correlation between the number of vehicles and FSD interventions with regard to different builds. And I'm sure there's plenty of data there to show that without a problem. Over on the YouTube side, cool to see all these chats. Heck yeah, checking in from Maine, saw that. Hello from Sweden. It's 2:10 in the morning. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I saw that my buddy Toby over in Munich is hopping on here too, and he said it's going to be like 2 in the morning there. So mad love to everybody internationally who decided to poke in and take a look at this with me. It is just after, it's almost 20:30 here, 8:30 p.m. for non-24-hour time, folks. So everybody who's tuning in at ungodly hours, I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot. And let's see what other questions we got here. Is this cruise data new in 27.25, and can we integrate it with your platform? That I'm not sure. Oh, Elias is already on these questions. I'm seeing he's already going back and forth there. People like to talk about the match or the March of Nines, but it'd be cool just to get back to a single 9. Yes, I fully agree. Lucas, yes, I'm looking forward to that too. I was really happy with 12.33, and again, just showing here on the RoboTaxi results, we were up in the 90s, and even the high 80s felt really good. Over 50 to 107 trips, 71% over 150 trips on 12.36 is not ideal. Still higher than the overall previous builds, but the early version 12 builds definitely set the standard when it came to what I was hoping to see future builds accomplish. But I know that with 12.5, that there were a lot of new technologies involved in the training of the system that I'm not equipped to rattle off, but something I should probably get more in tune with on the knowledge of. That way I can be more informative there. But I know there was a big enough of a model change in how they were training things that 12.5 was a pretty big step, which would lead in a lot of ways to some steps backwards. But hopefully with more rapid iteration we can move forward. Now, to everybody who's tuned in here, I am on the early access program now. I'm very honored to have been contacted by the Tesla team, and Mew, my Model 3, is on the VIP list and the cars that have the snapshot camera. And I love that because for a long time now, Elias and I have been talking about having the ability to present all that early data in bulk to the team to more efficiently move through the training of the early dot releases before it goes wide. and giving it to a handful of people that do a couple of trips here and there, collecting data in bulk from everybody else, it does get the job done. But if you got a couple of people that are going to drive hundreds of miles a day, 1,000+ miles a week, that is a lot of training data that can come in early. And people like me that are doing rideshare, we're not in the same little box spot all the time doing this. We're going all over. I'm going from where I'm at in Haines City out to Tampa, up into Orlando, north of that to Mount Dora. I want to mess with different parts of Florida and sort of fill in that color map now that I'm over here. And that is a lot of valuable early data that can get brought into the Tesla team. So I am so happy to be able to do that. And they're probably going to get tired of seeing all the stuff I bring in. No, hopefully not. I mean, we got to give those H100 ships something to train, right? Let's see. I'm still on 12.3.6. How did I get the update? So that's an interesting question. Originally, I had to wait because my software branch on the car was the 2024.30 branch. I messed up because I'm subscribed. For anyone who doesn't know, I didn't buy FSD. I subscribed. So there was a hiccup in my subscription and I dropped out of FSD for a day or two. And in that time, I got upgraded to the .30 branch. And they snuck in. Oh, how am I trying to put this? I was on the previous, I think, .27 branch, and since I dropped off of FSD, I got the .30 branch and missed the initial rollout of FSD updates. But since I'm on the early program again, the very second that 12.5.4.1 was coming in, the day that actually Elias brought it up to me, I ended up getting that update. Everybody who's on the 2024.30 branch of software, I think, should be starting to see 12.5.4.1 roll out. I don't know how wide it's gotten because Tesla can kind of pinch the rollouts and change them and then send out another dot release like .2 and then it starts all over again. What percent of your bad experiences were related to poor civil engineering of road traffic flows? Now that's a good question, Jittery Hobo. That is a really good question because actually today I had that issue twice. So a scenario with essentially 2-lane road intersection, traffic light, busy area, and there wasn't a, it was one of the traffic lights that does not have a designated turning arrow. So in this case, when it's green, it's a yielding process, which most of us are familiar with. Now, FSD did not make any movement to inch forward to eventually shoot the gap, and it resulted in a customer failure because I had to take over and push us through as the light turns yellow. Otherwise, we were getting honked at and waiting with people behind us. The fact that we were on that sort of busy, congested road with no dedicated like turn arrow to me was really stupid because it could have alleviated that flow of traffic instead of causing this awkward yield scenario that is prevalent all over the country and a lot here and a lot of these back roads in Florida. That's the only immediate example that stands out as far, because I just went through it today. But I will say that road design in Florida is a bit more, I don't want to say better thought out, but perhaps than San Diego, California, because there were a lot of issues in San Diego where it looked like the design of exits and how you would immediately have to jump like 3 lanes to then take an immediate right. If you're familiar with San Diego, I'm talking about the I-5 southbound exit to Imperial into downtown. It's a nightmare, and it makes you just wonder who the hell thought this was a good idea to have you going from highway speeds to exiting to making sure that you can jump 2 lanes of normal flowing traffic into that third right turn lane to take a right. I haven't noticed that quite as much here, but I haven't done as much busy urban downtown city driving. I've done a lot of work currently in the Winter Haven, Lake Wales, Bartow, Haines City, Davenport, and they're not necessarily rural, but they're not as developed as like Altamont Springs, Orlando, Tampa proper. So there might be some more civil engineering issues in those regions, but it does contribute. It does because it can result in the need to take over just to get the customer trip moving along, which can result in more failures. I think it's important for everyone to realize that this is a very strict metric because I will not allow the system to just randomly miss turns and take a customer on a wild goose chase. Like this is, I would say, as Meta has mentioned in conversations before, this is like measuring the system against 5-star drivers. So it's a high standard, but I think that's important because it needs to be there, and I think it will actually be way past that. Most people that ride with me that actually give me their subjective rating of the ride of the ride, sorry, is 5 stars. And you can see that on the overview page. If you actually look at customer ratings here as sort of a fun little thing, looking at all of them, you'll notice just the vast majority of people are giving this like 5 star ratings. Maybe a 4 in 1 or 2 cases. I have customers that are a bit harsher, will say a 3 or a 2, but most people subjectively experiencing this technology are giving it 5 stars, even when they realize that it messed up, because it's just, I've got people falling asleep in the back of the car because it's so smooth. So I think it'll do okay in that regard, but the civil engineering issues definitely contribute to some of these failures. And I'm going to try to keep my eye out for them more often. That way I can maybe clip some videos and show you guys examples of that. I think that'll be a valuable thing to have. I really appreciate that question. I'm going to go back over to X chat real quick. Tesla Bull. The Tesla app also includes a large data set on Teslas. I look at it mostly to track my trips and comparative battery data. I don't know if it can be used to source data for driver FSD autopilot interventions. It would be great to identify specific hotspots and a heat map with the most interventions. Yeah, and that's sort of the idea, Tesla Bull, with the map that we've put together, is to try to show the areas that, based on zip code that I drive through with trips, that have more of a struggle than others. And that's why we wanted to come up with our standards to the left and the color coding, from 100% perfect, like success, ready for cybercab tomorrow, versus like below 69%. And it's just, nope, 1 star, would never do again. So we'll sort of be able to do that in our own scale here, but it'd be really cool to be able to utilize third-party apps to help with that. I know that you're able to get some autopilot data from using Tesla Insurance and then using, Tesla Scope. I've wanted to use them, but Tesla Insurance isn't available in Florida. When it is, I would love to do that, because that'd be a cool way to see just another data point for how many miles are driven. There's not really a lot of work in this space that's gone towards this sort of work, this like actually collecting the data and presenting it and showing it to the scale. And again, this is just me. If you guys go to teslafsdtracker.com, not /cyberlift, like just the proper community tracker, you'll see a lot more data than what you're seeing here. The big boy tracker, like the main thing, is collecting from over 200 testers and all over the country. And I think in Canada too, it's a modicum of data. So I wish that other people were actually trying to put effort into this sort of thing. And that's one of the arguments that I've gotten from people who think that, Tesla needs third-party validation, that some fans don't count. Well, no one else has, put on their big boy pants and got it done. There's nobody that's actually doing this as an official third party. So, we crowdsource the data and we show what it does on with our own effort, with our own work. And I love it. We may not be getting paid to do this, but this is a passion that we've had for years. My first data report video goes back to the, early version 10.2, 10.4 days, and it's pretty bad. If you guys want to laugh, hop onto the YouTube channel, into the RoboTaxi report playlist, and go back and watch my first couple of videos just to get an idea of what it used to be like. Let's see, on the YouTube side. All right. What do we got? What percent of, civil engineering issues. Oh, so actually, I'm glad you brought this up. Polar, have you been using Uber's new Tesla navigation? I actually tried to, and I had to reach out to Uber's support team because I connected my car through their shared data option, which originally was used for something that's kind of I don't want to call it a scam, but if you share your Tesla data with doing Uber, you're kind of screwing yourself over for one reason. It's because they use your battery range to judge whether or not you're going to get a trip. So in California, it wasn't an everyday thing, but it was not super uncommon for me to get a trip to LA, Temecula, Anaheim. Often I'm not starting these trips at 90% battery. I'm in my day working. So the customers have always been super cool with stopping for like 5 to 10 minutes to charge up just to get them to their destination. You will not be getting those trips anymore if you share your data with Uber, because they will not give you a trip that exceeds your estimated range. And I notice a big drop in my bigger ticket business because of that. One of those trips to LA, that's my day. That's like $130, $150, and I can go home. Or make more and get more data in LA, because that's what I like to do. Out here in Florida, I've gotten one Lyft ride from basically, what was it, Celebration area south of Orlando, all the way to Punta Gorda. 2.5 hour drive, or not quite, about 2 hour drive, and Lyft paid me out even in Florida, about $140 on that trip, which would have been a bit more in California, but that's a massive amount here. But if you had your data shared with Uber, it wouldn't have done it, because I did stop at one point in Arcadia down here in Florida to charge up before I got to Punta Gorda to actually drop off a textbook from a mother to her daughter. So just a little fun fact there. If you share your data with Uber on your car, you might get sort of blocked out of potential big ticket trips. That part aside, I wanted to do it anyway just to see what this Tesla navigation was like, because some of you might not realize or remember, I actually drove the Mustang Mach-E for a while, about 3 months, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it as a car. It was fun. Charging it was not so fun. This is before they got the Tesla Supercharger access, so that sucked. But as a car, it was fun. It was cool to show passengers. But my favorite thing was Apple CarPlay, because Uber and Lyft both were right there on the screen. Everything was interactive on the screen, and as an Uber and Lyft driver, that was a game changer. It's the biggest thing I miss. Not the Mach-E itself, but the Apple CarPlay on the display. So when I did see this thing, I was like, all right, we'll link my car to Uber just so I can test this out. And it wasn't working. What I do now was actually a tip I got from another viewer. I just selected the Google Maps option for Uber, and then I share it directly to my car. I can just literally hit share and then click on Tesla, and it shoots the address straight to my car. I don't have to type anything in. Lyft doesn't let you do that anymore. For some reason, they stopped doing that, which really sucks. But on Uber, you still can, and that's what I do if I'm using them. But in my discussion, this is a really long-winded way of getting to the answer of this question. I apologize. In my discussion with the Uber support, they sent the email to me to do this whole Tesla display thing, but didn't mention that we haven't rolled it out to everybody yet. So if it doesn't work for you, you just haven't gotten it yet. So I'm just SOL for now. I'm checking on it to see when it does pop up so I can see, if it's worth it, if it's cool, because I would just like to check it out and to be able to report that back to you guys. But as of right now, the answer is, I guess we haven't rolled it out to everybody yet. Sorry. You might have seen a post or two of my issues with Uber lately, and it's a mess out here in Florida. They need to clean house and get their stuff in order, because I'm killing it with Lyft. Lyft's great. I've had a great time there. So Uber, step it up, man. Let's go. Give me some incentives. Get the software working properly so I can use my navigation in the display. Not like they're ever going to see this. But thank you for the question. Yeah, I'm gonna be waiting for that, and the second I'm able to use that, there will be a little video out demonstrating it, talking about it, and if it's cool, if it's worth it, if it's kind of novel. All right. Let's see what else we got here. It's a good question and something I've thought about in the past, but for FSD, it's kind of irrelevant. FSD has to be perfect on the roads as they are, because changing roads short term is not feasible. I might be out of context there on that comment from Brandon. If it has to do with the civil engineering or the way the roads are designed, that makes sense. You need the vehicle to be able to work properly as it is now, and to be able to get the job done with what's going on. Because to the point of many who are in favor of, or are really excited and listen to what Elon says about machine learning and computer vision being superior to a human, especially in time as they iterate, then that means it should be able to adapt like we do, which there's a lot missing there, like experience, intuition, and just kind of knowing how to adapt on the fly. If a road's randomly closed off because police have it blocked off for an accident, car doesn't react to that very well. There is a chance that it'll sort of randomly go the correct way, but that's not an actual skill that it has. And when it comes to weird road conditions or the need to shoot the gap on a yellow because traffic is going to stop since the red light's there, that is coming. The system doesn't really know that. It's just going to be opportunistic in whether or not it goes. So there definitely is a lot of learning that needs to happen to be able to get to our level of adapting on the fly and making things happen and completing trips for customers. There are cookie cutter scenarios where it's going to do well, and that's why I've never thought that it's going to be just on and everybody has FSD ready to go at all times anywhere in the world. It's going to be regional. There are going to be certain areas where there's like an extent amount of success, and I'd be like, all right, cool, let's greenlight this spot and do it. Similar to how Waymo has segmented its stuff. There's a reason you do that. It's smart. You don't want to turn it on everywhere and then deal with all the headaches that come with it. But you can continue to train everywhere else, and eventually you get more and more purple zones, like in my data, that shows like, all right, this region's ready, let's go. And it'll continue to iterate over time. Hey, what's up, Martha? How long do you wait and see what the system will do when it may be messing up? Does it depend on the situation or if you have a rider? Sometimes I think I wait too long. Definitely depends on if I have a rider or not. I've said a bunch of times that I am much more risk tolerant By myself, I am far more risk averse with a customer. And that kind of goes into the 5-star expectation when I'm grading this scale, and how I can probably be a bit too strict of a coach for the car in these regards. So when you're looking at my stuff, with lesser standards, it would just perform better. So like, you can almost think of me as a gateway of higher standard, and if it's performing really well, it's really good because I have like a no nonsense policy when I'm with customers, whether it's a safety related thing or even a competency thing, route adherence, route competency, making the moves it needs to at the right time. 1254, to its credit, is shooting the gap really well in a lot of instances. The initiative is there, just not consistently. It's accurate, but maybe not precise, if you understand that breakdown. So the skill set's there. It just needs to get refined and be more consistent and be able to take those moves all the time confidently without getting wavy and jittery and wanting to stop. I've noticed that there is more in those critical moments of decision making. There is more turbulence and jitter. Overall, the finesse feels very much like 1236. But in a lot of these moments where there's a short amount of time to make a decision, that yoke for me, steering wheel for others, it gets shaky because it's like, wait, now? Maybe not. Maybe yes, maybe no. And I would say, kind of reflective of what you're seeing here at 65% success on the RoboTaxi results. About 65% of the time, it's getting it right. It's shooting that gap and doing the right thing. And sometimes it's impressing me. Chuck Cook recently mentioned how he wished there was a way to like congratulate the system and say it did really good. There have been instances like that where it is taken a gap, like an unprotected left, that I was not expecting it to be able to do, especially in low light conditions. That actually just happened on the way home. I thought because we had a cyclist that passed us and then cars were coming and it was dark and it just said, nope, I got it. And it was perfect. It was amazing. So there's an interesting split of it doing really well in those instances and then in the moment where it matters with a customer, losing confidence, getting shaky, and then I got to take over. Great question, Martha. I appreciate you tuning into the stream. Oh, and Tesla Boy, I missed your last one. In the context of 1010 about the deployment of triggers that makes Tesla that drive past them upload their data, perhaps the deployment of triggers in those areas could improve the FSD performance, and your work can help Tesla identify where to deploy triggers. Huh. No, that's interesting. Sorry, I'm kind of processing, like areas where I guess I'd have to understand what the trigger would be. I haven't read up on that, but I think I get the gist of what you're saying. It's like, in a way, my car or other cars that are figuring out where these weird spots are, they can act as sort of red flags that can help the team to get that corrected, or maybe even in a different context, be an alert for a RoboTaxi or a cyber cab that says like, hey, maybe you shouldn't go this way because there's some weird road condition that might prevent you from executing the maneuver. I guess I got to figure out what context that would be in, but that does sound interesting. Would be cool for them to add waypoints. Hopefully they get it working. Yeah, I am curious to see how the iterations and changes in Uber and other rideshare apps will go. I'm hoping at on 1010, and please let me know in the comments what you think of this. I would like to, in 5 days' time when this is going on, do some sort of a live stream, kind of like Rob Maurer and them have done, where they're live streaming the earnings call. I'd like to do a live stream around the RoboTaxi unveil because it's kind of the focus of what I've been doing for the last 3 years, 4 years. So I don't know exactly how I'll do it. I'm probably something similar to this, but just have the RoboTaxi event going on and maybe take notes, and then afterwards we can discuss the presentation. Everything is shown. I'm hoping to see more details on the app as compared to the Uber and Lyft rideshare apps. And something I brought up in a video or two is that what I've seen that I don't know if Tesla's addressed yet, that I'm sure they're working on in the background, is precision point pickup and drop off when it comes to customers. Because there was a case today, in fact, where the drop off pin for the Tesla navigation was a street too soon compared to the Lyft drop off pin in an apartment complex. So that isn't as crazy as it could be, because it's one street difference. Worst case, if that customer had to get out and maybe walk half a mile home, that's not ideal. But it's not like 2 miles off the destination or something. But that precision accuracy for where someone's going to be picked up and dropped off is going to be important in their actual Cybercab app. Maybe not so much in Tesla Nav, because it's more generic. You're not using your Tesla Nav or any general vehicle navigation to get to like a person's specific location pickup or drop off zone. Most of the time it's okay, but there are definitely, like when you're picking up certain areas at hotels, airport arrival and departure is a big one. There's a lot of little delineations with that precision that Tesla's going to need to nail, because the drive can be perfect from A to B. The car can perform so well that the person's asleep, messing on their phone, checking out TikTok, X, whatever. But if you're so annoyed with the car even getting to you or getting to your drop off that you don't want to return, that's a big problem. You're not going to want to reuse that service, and you want a service that people are going to want to come back to. So that is something I hope to see with the 1010 unveil, is more information on their actual service, because we've seen the teaser app images, but that's about it. Let's see what else we got here. I think we're kind of wrapping up toward the ends of this. I think this is kind of a fun first stream. I hope you guys have enjoyed this sort of casual, laid-back platform. It's been awesome seeing Elias in the comments on YouTube. If you have any issues on X, I should have said this in the beginning, so I apologize. I did confirm that when you're streaming from your PC on X, you can choose to let everybody make comments, or to restrict it to premium only or not. On the phone when I went live for the Cyberfest thing, that wasn't an option. So you should be able to get a comment through on X. But if you can't, feel free to hop over to the YouTube channel and lay a comment in there. And Elias is over there on the YouTube channel too, chiming in, answering questions. Oh, there we go. And there's a question for me. And yeah, actually, I can't believe I haven't brought this up yet, because this is kind of an awesome deal. And I plan to put out a certain kind of video that highlights this. So he just asked, how is driving for Uber and Lyft now that you don't have the nag? Do passengers notice it more? The second part of that question, no. And I'm keeping my hands on my knees by the yoke. I'm ready. I can get to it quickly. I can intervene if I need to. But I've done several drives now that are anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes with somebody, and the car is doing all kinds of stuff. One video that will be up hopefully soon, and there's no reaction, no recollection until the end when I mentioned that it was self-driving. I had yesterday a gentleman who I was taking to work, I guess, and the only thing that kept waking him up was the FSD may be degraded warning that pops up when it starts to rain. Y'all know what I mean, the do-do-do-do. That just keeps happening, even though the conditions haven't changed. I would just see that go do-do-do-do, and he would be like, huh? What happened? I felt bad. I was like, damn it, man. FSD, let this man sleep. Just stop beeping at me. We know what's going on. We see that if there's a light rain, it's going to be okay. But even with all that, he didn't realize it. At the very end, I told him it was self-driving, and he was blown away. He was also really tired. And today I had another guy, about a 30-minute drive through Tampa, traffic, everything, all the craziness. FSD killed it. I had my hands pretty much on my lap the whole time, and no issue. My experience with the no nag has been incredible. With glasses on, even a hat on, there were a couple of cases I think where the brim of my hat kind of came a little bit too low toward my eyes, and it would revert to the nag status, so I would just kind of have to look up a little bit more to get it back. But it also feels incredibly natural. It's funny because I definitely enjoy it, and it's increased the immersion of being on FSD. But it also has this sort of sense of familiarity to me, because in the past I kind of always kept my hand either on the yoke or resting near it, so I didn't get bothered by the nag too much. I was sort of automatically fulfilling the nag. But knowing now that I can have my hands off and not deal with the nag mid-turn or whatever, it's been nice. It's a quality of life improvement that I've noticed far more than my customers have, which is actually kind of interesting. People don't, even seeing it clear as day, it does not register. And I don't know if there will be a turning point where it does. What's going on, Will of a Mystery? How's it going? Let's see. What else we got here? Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, the comment about kids knowing more. I've seen that a lot. When I'm picking up customers or I'm around, there's a lot of school zones around here, and I'll see a lot of. I'll overhear the kids going like, "Oh, Tesla." The kids know what's going on. They get it a lot more than the parents seem to. I actually pulled into a 7-Eleven yesterday while I was working, and when I was getting out of the car, there were two kids and this gentleman, and he just looks over and goes, "My son loves your Tesla," and I was like, "Thanks, me too." Kids get it. They really do. I'm actually surprised. I see a lot more Cybertrucks in Florida than I would expect as well. It's not as prevalent as California, and there's definitely a lot more noticeable kind of anti-EV mindset and sentiment behind it too. But a lot of these folks I talk to seem to be a bit more curious than directly against. You can tell they've been getting their information from the media or from something they heard their friends say about EVs. It's been interesting. I do have Joe mode on. Yes, relevant mystery. I have Joe mode on, and unfortunately, it's still a jarring enough sound to wake him up and to annoy the hell out of me. I wish that the FSD weather degraded button was maybe on a I don't know the proper. I would say 10 minutes. Maybe that's too long. A 10-minute refresh to where it doesn't do it again until it assesses 10 minutes later that conditions are either the same and don't beep again because we already know, or got worse and then beep again, or got better and don't beep. I don't know. I feel like that could be done a little bit better. No nag is definitely nice, Aaron. I fully agree. How long do you think till Tesla allows customers to put their cars on the RoboTaxi network? Oh, now enters the big speculation. So, man, that is so tough. Allows customers to put their cars on it because we have to cross all the other thresholds before we even get to that. Which I'm guessing not only regulators but Tesla insurance needs to be involved there, or getting involved with customers and their own insurance. Um, if we see early beta rollout, like early testing, regional testing with like waitlist customers or VIP customers or however, kind of like Waymo did, if we see that anywhere in Q4 this year, or honestly 2025, I don't think this year. But if we do see that anywhere at the end of this year or next year, I would say customers putting their cars on the system are probably going to be a year or two after that. And I feel like that might even be ambitious. I don't know, because there's just a lot of red tape. We need to see some red tape get chopped up before we can, I think, get a more accurate idea of when like you or I will be able to submit our cars to the RoboTaxi network. I think it'll be Tesla exclusive for quite a while because they can control a lot more of the liability that way and make sure everything is ironed out. And how they might go forward from that might be regionally based too. So if you're in an area where you're near a 100% zone or a green zone that can operate, maybe you can if you sign a million waivers. I don't know. I would love to say earlier or sooner than later, but there is a lot that goes into this. First time that an everyday customer can put their vehicle on the RoboTaxi network, I'm going to say 2027 at the earliest. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong, but that even still feels kind of ambitious, just given where we're at now and all the steps that need to be accomplished and how slow our regulation moves. I don't know if Elon goes in and the Department of Government Efficiency and starts slashing all these regulators down and makes things move faster. It could happen a lot faster, but I don't know. All right, I'll take a couple more questions here. We're wrapping up at the hour. I think that might have been a good amount of time. I really appreciate everybody who's tuned into this. And asked questions and participated. I hope that some of you have been able to actually go to the dashboard and click around and look at it and maybe think of some questions for next time. I don't know if I'm going to aim to do this weekly or every 2 weeks. It kind of depends on the frequency of updates and how much data I'm collecting and how much change there is. And I would like to in the future even plan in getting into more of the big tracker, looking at maybe my data and then how it compares to our much larger sample size of testers throughout the US and Canada. And yeah, totally jittery. Yeah, those kids will be the customers in the next, as they get to that point where they're gonna need a car, unless everything's self-driving. Who knows? Inner hype. Yeah, I do use Joe mode, and it still wakes up people who are trying to sleep, which sucks. Oh yeah, glad to see Elias. Yeah, you figured out the same thing with the hat brim. So yeah, if your hat's a little low to your camera, you might have to look up a little bit, guys. That might be what's cutting off your ability to go no nag. Yeah, wait, you used to drive cars? I can't wait to start seeing those conversations. Swiping the weather degraded message to the left minimizes it, reducing alert frequency, it seems. Okay, Sean, I will try that. I do tend to swipe it over. I will definitely try that and report back to you. That'll be pretty cool. Because it's annoying as hell when that happens. Live RoboTaxi rides. So there are some issues with that. I've had that question in the past, and for both tech reasons and legal reasons, it's not really possible. So with customers, I care very much about privacy. So that's why if you see somebody fully featured, not blurred, I typically still keep names out of it, but they've consented. They've given me audio consent. Like I have that recorded that, yeah, they like to be on the channel. It's cool. If not, faces are fully blurred, names are out, no identifying features to protect the individual's privacy. And with live drives, you get through all of that because we're saying names, we're conversing to each other. There could be private information, going back and forth, personal details. and the person, whether or not they would want to be on that live drive. There's a lot of issue with just that part of the equation. On top of that, the live stream quality is not great. I do with my buddy Mugen XS that you guys have seen me make stream with games and such. We're gonna do some live streams on FSD and take questions and kind of have fun with it, and mess around with how the streaming quality is. Because like on YouTube and X, you can't really zoom out any further, so you have to place the phone further back, which would also be kind of like right in the customer's face in the back seat, which is another reason that would be a big headache. But also the wireless connection of getting consistent stream quality is kind of hit or miss. So the quality will definitely take a nosedive when it comes to streaming in that sense, which can be fun when you're doing live streams. Miss Jillian on X has done a bunch of live streams that have been really good, and I actually got the phone mount that she recommended to put in. That's what Tesla Mojo uses as well. So I'm going to bust that out, and Mugen and I are going to go out and do live streams, and that'll be a fun time. Hoping for big news on 1010, but could it be just another recruitment event? I do think recruitment's a big part of it, Lou. I do. I think it's going to be a product unveil and a recruitment event. And products unveil, because I think we're going to see the Cybercab, and I think we're going to see some other stuff too. I don't know if it'll be a passenger van like Stephen Mark Ryan speculated, or if it'll be maybe another look at the Roadster we've all been hearing about and wondering if it'll ever come into existence. I know there are a lot of people that are waiting for that thing, or it could just be the compact car, the lower cost $20,000 to $30,000 car that everybody wants. So I definitely think that'll be on the docket for the unveil, as well as what I'm hoping to be the actual rideshare app demonstration and how people are getting carried around, like maybe how they would order their ride. Like those are sort of the logistic details that I want to see, is the actual customer experience, like going into the app, how you would order, if you have to meet the car, if it comes straight to your GPS location, whatever that might be. But I think recruiting is always a big part of Tesla events, because they want to show and get people excited and bring in good talent. So I definitely think that's a component of it. Oh, and Optimus. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's got to have to be some sort of Optimus presence. I mean, how can you have Wii Robot as your image? Sorry, my brain just like completely turned off there. And the correlation to iRobot and not have Optimus involved. So yeah, I definitely think we'll either see Optimus, get some updates on Optimus. I think it's going to be a really fun event. Anyone who's getting to go, I hope they get a really great time out of it and good video and such. And I think Starlink probably would be really good with live streams. That might be an option in the future. I got to make that big money to get the newer Starlink and whatever plan comes with that. Focusing right now on just figuring out new camera situations for inside my car. and getting consistent content out, which is one of the reasons I wanted to do this RoboTaxi live stream tonight, just to make sure I did get this out this week, because I said I wanted to. And I appreciate everybody who's come in. I think that this is gonna conclude it, guys. I know the wife ordered dinner and it's just after 2100, and I think that was a really good hour. Anybody who has questions and didn't get to, leave them in the comments. Put them on X and YouTube. Give me all the feedback and suggestions. Elias and I will both be going through all this, because we love this data side. We're the data bros, and we want to make this more mainstream for everybody, because it's cool to see what the car is doing, but I think it's even cooler to actually know what's happening and how things are changing over time. I'll let you guys know we're getting closer and closer to 2,000 actual tested trips with customers, closing in on 2,000 hours probably this year on FSD, and I'm personally going to try to get double my distance on here. And I know that on the big tracker, we're getting close to some really big milestones really quick with everybody who's contributed. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this first RoboTaxi live stream. Hit me with all the feedback. I love it, because it'll help me do this better, more efficiently, and maybe more fun in the future. And you all have a wonderful evening. And if you're in Florida, stay safe. We have another hurricane on the way, Hurricane Milton, currently tropical storm. It is heading straight for Tampa. Yeah, so stay safe, guys. It's going to be a wet, rainy one this weekend and into next week. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tesla Bull, Martha, all of you, Polar, Elias, of course.